The palace balcony shook as distant explosions rolled across the horizon. The queen of the Lyran dominion stood tall, her silver crown shimmering against the dim sky, yet inside she felt the crushing weight of defeat. Her forces were scattered. Her cities crumbled under the relentless assaults of the invading Federation. Her commanders spoke only in fearful tones. The people whispered that the final collapse was near. Through all of it, she held her composure, because she knew that if she faltered even a moment, her people would lose the last sliver of hope they carried. Before her stretched the courtyard, where thousands of citizens gathered, seeking reassurance. They watched the smoke rising in the distance. They listened to the drones of approaching war engines. They felt their queen's defeat, even though she tried not to show it. She raised her voice to speak to them, though her throat tightened. She told them the truth that the enemy had advanced faster than her advisors predicted, and that the lines along the northern ridge had fallen at dawn. A wave of dread moved through the crowd. Even the bravest among them bowed their heads in despair. In that moment, a lone voice carried out from the crowd. It was not loud or commanding, but it cut through the fear because it sounded oddly calm. A human stepped forward. His name was Aaron. He wore no armor. He carried no weapons. His clothing was plain, and his presence seemed ordinary, but something in his eyes made those near him move aside. The queen noticed him because he did not tremble like the others. He looked at her as if he understood something no one else could see. Aaron bowed respectfully, then said that the war was not lost. The queen stared at him stunned, because she had heard those words many times, yet never believed them. But the human said them with such certainty that many turned toward him. He asked her permission to speak freely. She granted it because she sensed sincerity in him. Aaron said that he had traveled across many worlds before arriving in the Dominion. He had studied the invading Federation's machines, their tactics, and their weaknesses. He explained that the enemy relied heavily on a frequency-based system to coordinate their mechanized units. If that signal were disrupted, the entire front line would collapse. Her commanders had never discovered such a vulnerability. They stared at Aaron with disbelief. But his explanation came with clarity and calm confidence that made the queen lean forward. She asked how a single human could achieve such a disruption when even her finest engineers could not. Aaron replied that he carried something unique. Humans from his region of origin developed an unusual resilience to certain energy waves. Their bodies responded differently to fields of interference, allowing them to withstand and manipulate distortions others could not survive. It was not magic or legend, but a natural trait. He stood in the crowd unnoticed until now because he never wanted to appear boastful. But he loved the Dominion. He arrived years ago and lived a peaceful life among the people. When the war erupted, he watched the destruction and waited for someone else to take decisive action. Now, with the end looming, he understood he had a duty. The queen listened in silence. Around her, the citizens whispered. No one knew the truth of his claim, but desperation made them cling to any possibility. She asked him what he required. He answered simply that he needed to reach the northern ridge, where the Federation's signal tower pulsed across the region. Once there, he could disrupt the network long enough for her troops to regroup and launch a counterforce. Her generals warned that the ridge was already overrun. Enemy walkers and artillery blocked all routes. Anyone traveling there would be struck down before reaching the base of the tower. Aaron nodded, but did not flinch. He said he could travel alone and quickly. A single person moving through debris would be less visible. He assured her that he would either succeed or die with honor. She admired his courage, yet feared sending him to what seemed certain death. But she had no alternative. If his plan worked, the Dominion would have a chance. If not, they would fall regardless. She stepped forward and placed her hand on his arm. She told him she believed in him. Aaron bowed again, then turned toward the ruined gates of the courtyard. The crowd parted, forming a path for him. Some reached out to touch his shoulder, wishing him strength. Others simply watched with awe as he walked with steady resolve. Once he vanished from sight, the Queen ordered her remaining forces to prepare for a possible surge if his mission succeeded. Eren made his way through the shattered streets. Buildings leaned at odd angles. Fires crackled inside broken structures. The ground vibrated with the march of enemy walkers. Above him, Federation drones scanned for survivors. Eren kept close to walls and moved with calculated silence. His breath remained steady despite the danger, because his purpose had replaced his fear. At the edge of the city, he spotted a cluster of enemy troopers advancing. They wore armored suits with glowing visors. Their rifles swept across the rubble. Eren waited behind an overturned transport until they passed. He then slipped through a narrow alley and continued toward the ridge. The landscape grew darker as he approached the front. Smoke rose in columns. Artillery blasts shook the earth like rolling thunder. The constant roar of machines echoed across the valley. Eren remained focused on the distant signal tower, which pulsed with rhythmic flashes. He could feel its energy like a pressure against his temples. Most species would collapse under that strain, but he felt something else. His mind sharpened and his senses heightened. This was the ability he spoke of. The very field that overwhelmed others gave him clarity. He reached a trench line where a small group of Dominion soldiers lay injured. They recognized him from the Queen's courtyard and stared at him as if he were a legend. One soldier tried to stand, but collapsed. Eren told them to stay sheltered. He promised that if he succeeded, help would return soon. They watched him climb out of the trench and walk alone toward the ridge. Enemy turrets tracked movement across the plains. Eren moved low and rolled behind fallen barriers. He breathed deeply and let the rhythm of the tower guide him. Moments later, a drone spotted him and fired a burst of plasma. Eren leapt behind a boulder just in time. The air hissed where the blast passed. He knew he could not waste time. The Federation forces would converge quickly. He continued forward, weaving through debris until he reached the base of the ridge. The tower rose above him like a dark spine stabbing into the sky. Energy waves pulsed through the air. Eren stepped into the field and immediately felt the vibrations ripple through his body. Instead of resisting, he embraced them. His vision blurred for a moment, then sharpened with unprecedented clarity. His heartbeat matched the rhythm of the pulses. He could sense the structure of the network as if it were a living web. Federation guards rushed toward him. Their commands echoed across the ridge. Eren raised his hands and closed his eyes. He concentrated on the core frequency. A coil of energy built around him. The guards opened fire, but their shots bent away in jagged arcs. The field around Eren intensified. He felt the vibrations grow until they pushed outward like a shockwave. The guards stumbled and their visors flickered. Their weapons froze. Their suits overloaded and shut down. Eren took another step and focused deeper. He found the exact harmonic the Federation relied on. His body resonated with it. Then he broke it. The pulse that erupted from him traveled across the valley like a rolling tidal wave. Machines shuddered. Walkers collapsed mid-step. Drones dropped from the sky. The entire enemy network blinked out at once. Silence followed as if the world itself paused. From the distant palace, the Queen saw the lights across the ridge flicker and die. Her commanders shouted in disbelief. She realized Eren had succeeded. She immediately ordered her forces to charge. Dominion soldiers surged across the plains with renewed courage. Without their network, the Federation machines were clumsy and uncoordinated. The Dominion forces reclaimed trench after trench. Meanwhile, Eren stood at the base of the tower, drained but alive. The energy field receded, leaving him trembling, yet smiling faintly. He knew he had given the Dominion a chance to win. But the Federation commanders were not finished. A massive walker emerged from the far side of the ridge, its steps shaking the ground. It was a command-class Titan built to withstand extreme conditions. Its cannons charged with blinding light, aimed directly at Eren. He steadied his breath. He had no strength left for another wave. But he refused to flee. He stood tall, ready to face it, even if it meant his life. The Titan aimed. Its cannons whined. Then a barrage of Dominion fire struck its side, forcing it to stagger. Troop carriers surged up the ridge. Dominion soldiers spilled out, fighting fiercely to protect the human who saved them. The Titan redirected its aim, but a Dominion pilot in a strike craft swooped down and launched a direct hit at its joint. The Titan toppled. The soldiers cheered. Eren finally collapsed from exhaustion. Hours later, he awoke inside the palace infirmary. The Queen stood beside him. She told him that the Dominion had reclaimed the ridge and driven the Federation back beyond the border. The people saw him as a hero. Her voice trembled slightly when she told him that he had saved not only her realm, but her hope. She thanked him with a sincerity that moved him deeply. Eren said he only did what anyone with his gift should have done. She shook her head and replied that many possess strength, but few choose to rise when Ev.